Harmonize
the podcast.
Yes.
With Nina
and Kenya. All of this wonderful stuff has happened, and so now it's like, what now? I need to settle. I need to stop because there's so much stuff going on. Not necessarily bad, just stuff.
Yeah,
I have to, let me grab for me and Zeta too. Mm-hmm. I know it's been like, let me grab my passion planner. You see, I'm carrying it now without,
right,
like my Bible,
right.
And let me get ready for the new, because the year is not over. Mm-mm. And there's still a lot of time to create, or to invest in this lifestyle.
Yeah.
So, that's where I am. That's where I am with, some of the jobs. That's and it's not terrible right now, but it's a good time to really look inward and if there needs to be a plan, I want to be able to be centered enough to realize it and think about it and pray on it.
Well, we can talk about that. It's the last quarter of the year. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you know what? It's
but I think for you and I don't know. You tell me it could be different because you're about to get your shine on again, your fall shine. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But it is still. Well, you know what? I think like for me, what's happening is. It is like, yes, I'm about to get my fall shine on for the next 4 weeks or whatever. With the show, but then I have to dig in again because my next show isn't until January, and what I would love nothing more, especially on a day like today. Like it's not too hot, it's not. I love these days actually, but it's like a little overcast, and I have the candles going, and I would like to snuggle up and just. Hibernate and withdraw.
Yeah, and settle. For me, I just want to just...
and it's like I kind of want to like stop everything, but I cannot do that because I have another show coming up. Right. It's going to be a very difficult show.
Okay. Any hints on what that show is?
Yeah, that's Revolt. She said Revolt again.
Oh, okay.
Which is... being done all over the country right now. It's like taking the country by rage, apparently, by storm, taking the country by storm.
Have we basically started?
We've started.
Okay.
Yeah. When I first read the script, right. Here we go. 1, 2, 25, 10.
Yeah.
Okay, so the people that have purchased the house behind us are working on it, and apparently they decided to start all that work right now. There is no way that we can go anywhere else and not hear the sound. So if y'all hear hammering,
that's my pencil.
Right, but sorry. Yeah, we're gonna have to deal with it today.
Yeah,
we do not have a soundproof studio.
Yes,
we're not quite there yet. We'll get there soon.
Yeah.
I don't know. So I guess this is actually not off topic because I feel like because we talked about maybe we're going to talk about Jeffrey Owens and Serena, and maybe we're going to talk a little bit about Kavanaugh and all that stuff that's happening, and what I kind of feel in the air and like what I've been just observing because like I haven't been having a hard time with it myself, but just observing that kind of like people are having a hard time with is this idea of extremes and that something has to be one thing or the other.
Yeah.
And things are not that simple. They are complex and people are complex and it's never just one thing or the other. And social media makes us want to be like, oh, you said this, so you're horrible and bad.
Yeah.
But if he said that, or she said that, if a person said whatever that quote unquote thing is 5 years ago, and 5 years ago they were 25 and now they're 30, a person can learn a lot in 5 years.
Yeah.
And so we can't I don't think we should always like throw people away
Yeah.
for something they said in their youth, you know, because the internet lives forever.
It's terrible.
You know, and it's like we hold people to this standard, but do not give them the grace or the empathy of the idea that a person can learn and grow and change.
Yeah.
You know, like, for example, and this is like a lighter example, but I love it because I have like stayed out of the conversation, but I've just been watching the conversation. So, you know, Tiffany Haddish got her Emmy.
Yes.
And like they always do, one of the reporters asked her, you know, at the press docket, you know, after, like, you know, so stuff, diversity, blah, blah, blah. How can we fix it? and Tiffany was like, I don't know. She said, I didn't go to college for that.
Yeah,
I do comedy. I tell jokes.
Yeah, right.
And I'm not smart enough to answer that question. She said, I do not know how we fix that. What I know is I won. And she went on to answering other questions. And you know, the thing is, like, she was absolutely being Tiffany. You know what I mean? Right. And it's like, but it's like, you know, Black artists are always held to this standard. It's like, oh, you have this moment.
Yeah.
Please, in 5 minutes, give us a sound bite to dissect all of the racism problems in Hollywood and how we fix it so that we can now have a press cycle that's all about you and what you said.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think if more people were willing to say, well, there's several things about this. Number one, if more people were willing to just say, I don't know, when they don't actually know.
Just tell the truth. Yeah. Just tell the truth.
Come on.
Just tell the
truth.
Just
tell the truth. Like, I don't know the answer to that. Right. No, you know, we wouldn't have as many like people getting quote unquote canceled. Right. All the time because they tried to answer it. Answered it wrong. Or what some people perceive as wrong.
Okay.
And then we, you know, half of us are throwing them away and half of them, I love them, you know, whatever. Right. That's one thing. Okay. Second thing is not, and here's the academic coming out, right? It's not the job of people who did not create the system that is oppressing them to fix the system. Right. It's the job of the people who created the system. Right. You know, and
we just make it known.
Exactly. And then number 3, can she have her moment?
I know. Right?
Like, can she just enjoy her Emmy? Can she enjoy her trophy?
It's the reason why I did the Black Bar Mitzvah thing for my son. It was the same reason. I just wanted him to enjoy being a young man. Yeah. And give him some tools to move forward.
Absolutely.
That's it.
Like, can I,
you know, you gonna have to deal with.
Right. Like,
I'm getting it from all sides.
Right. Like, I won this 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, right.
I would like to enjoy the fact that I won a thing. And sit in that joy and not think about the world's problems right this second. Right. Like, can I have this 5 minutes to be present? Because Lord knows
she's had enough time to
She was homeless 6 months ago.
You know what I'm saying? Everybody wants to know about that lifestyle. Right. No, you don't.
No.
And she don't want to remember it. Right. Let her have a moment.
Let her have her moment. Yeah. And so I guess, like, that's kind of where I am is you know, can we just, I mean, it's not different from what we usually talk about on the show, but I've really been thinking about that a lot. Yeah. As we approach this last quarter of the year, like, can I just be present? Yeah. In what's happening right now and not get, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, overtaken by the feeling of needing to do all the things right now today. Yeah. Right. You know, while still trying to, you know, leave space for planning and dreaming and all of that. But like, can I just be like right here in this moment, you know? Yeah. And
how about we over here with our head and
our hands in our heads, like what?
Like the world. And it's not that, like, I feel for me, I just feel like, life is so beautiful. And of course, with a beautiful life. Miss Nina.
What you see? Oh, crazy behind. Girl.
Yeah, I'm not even going to say that. I was going to say, she ain't got no.
My neighbor just came outside on her upstairs balcony porch in nothing but her drawers.
Right after I said life is beautiful.
Right. Go inside and put something on.
I was like, what is that?
Right.
Okay.
Put something on yourself. Nope, I'm going to leave it right on in there. Put something on.
Lord have mercy.
Yes,
That
I
was
turned
something.
into the old Southern black woman right there. Put something on yourself.
The funny thing is, I probably would have done the same thing.
No, I mean, it's fine. It was the backyard. Didn't nobody see her but us. But she don't care. Like,
she obviously
she won't go in the front yard like that.
Oh,
girl.
no. Okay. But I was saying that life is beautiful, but along with a lot of that beauty,
the French champagne.
That's up there with the light-skinned tiger or lion. Oh my gosh, that's a whole nother. But yes, along with the beautiful life, there is these things that happen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to give an example without putting business out on the street.
Well, I mean, like Jeffrey Owens.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. There's
like he was working. He was at his job.
Working, minding his own business.
Minding his business.
Like he always do.
Okay. I mean,
hold it down.
Can we mind our business? I mean,
for a little while. Just,
you gonna take a picture.
Yeah.
And put it on the internet.
And it has something
talk about look at him working at Trader Joe's. I didn't know people were gonna shame him. Yes, you did.
Yeah.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, you did know that. I didn't know enough people knew who he was. Yes, they do.
And yes, you did. You know who he was.
And it completely backfired. But
right.
I think what I'm saying is that I like how he handled it so gracefully.
He did.
He obviously life happens.
Yeah.
And he took his job and took his life with as much seriousness as he took, his role.
He did
with Cosby.
He did what an adult does.
He did what artists do all the time.
Oh, hello.
We do it all the time.
We've talked about it for 38 episodes.
Don't y'all remember? Hello, people. We do it all the time. And, stuff, you deal with the good and the bad in your life. And after a certain point, you deal with it with a level of maturity and patience and love.
Yes.
So that when when life throws you a curveball, you don't react, or at least you try to get to the point where you don't react. So where you're not completely affected, or to the point where you're broken down. At least that's the idea. Okay. And, it ended up being a beautiful thing. And I think a lot of it is because of what he brought to the world. Mm-hmm. I say all of that to say that I myself, so many great things have been happening, but there's been some stuff that pops up that maybe a year ago would have, I would have been really stressed out by. But because I believe, you tell me, that I've reached a level of maturity, those things don't quite bother me anymore. And I'm in a funny place because I feel like, well, why am I not flipping out? It's coffee, y'all. Why am I not flipping out like I normally should? I'm glad that I'm not, but why am I not?
Right.
But I feel like, should I admit that my faith has gotten stronger? Am I not humbled if I actually admit that my faith is a little bit stronger? I don't even know if I'm making all that. No, you're making sense.
And see, that is.
Oh.
She put some shorts on now.
Bless them. Thank you. And right when I was about to take a sip of my beautiful coffee, I looked up and was like, oh.
No, I mean, I think like all of those things all of those ideas are part of what go into the work of harmonizing your life. It's like when you're dealing with trying to figure out what do I actually believe, as a person, human being, woman, Black woman, progressive Christian person, and what is legalism from the church, and
what is in front of you is supposed to be
right.
What you have tangible in front of you is supposed to be something that, oh my gosh, Nina, help me out. I can dance it for y'all. Okay, so Nina, I'm gonna dance it.
You're gonna
try to talk it out, and you try and translate.
Today, translating for Kenya Woods.
So you have what's in front of you,
right?
What is expected to bring you joy? What is expected to be a meeting place or a thing or an idea to give you?
So the church house.
The church house, yes. They're supposed to give you this type of joy.
Supposed to give you community and faith and joy and hope and love and all those things.
You know that nothing is perfect.
Right.
Because nothing is perfect.
At all.
There's so much other extra unnecessary stuff to deal with. And when you've, and I know I can't do it on my own. I know I need the community, but when you've done so much work on yourself to try and better yourself, that you've done so much work and you've put it into your family, when you've read the Bible and studied and had fellowship and, you have all of these wonderful things.
Right.
Stuff even happens in the church, that just throws you a curve, but it's not coming from a lot of times the lay people.
Right. And it's like, I think, and this is one of the things, this element of church participation or church going is one of the things that we struggle with. Like I saw a thing, there's somebody who I know and love and, trust and value her opinion as an older woman in my life, and I recognize the generation that she comes from and all that kind of stuff. So she posted a thing the other day and, and it was a preacher woman, a female preacher, and she was talking about identity, right? And so she was basically saying, she was breaking down, like she was using the example of how a sentence is constructed, and she's like, your adjective describes your noun, so you can say, I am a human, I am a woman, I am a Black woman, I am a Christian woman. And she's like, but the adjective that we need to be focused on is being Christian. And like I am, and see, this is where I'm gonna breathe. I'm gonna breathe.
I'm over here holding on. I'm clutching to you. Both of us is clutching the table. I'm like, starting to shake.
Right. But I'm gonna breathe because I know what she was saying in terms of theology and faith. Okay, so let's just hear it from those ears for a minute. Okay. She was saying, she's like, my Blackness does not cancel out my Christianity. I am not a Black woman. I'm a Christian woman who happens to be Black. And she said, because if we are who we say we are and we believe what we say we believe, then my identity in Christ should be the thing that identifies me first and foremost. And that is the identity that I stand firmest in, et cetera, et cetera. So I understand what she was saying. Like, I understand the concept. However, I disagree because I don't, not that I disagree with the idea that if Christ is what you're putting your faith in,
we're not disagreeing with the word.
We're not disagreeing with that. No. What I'm disagreeing with is the fact that the church, as presented in the West, in America, and the way that it is founded, the way that it is built here in this country, the very foundation of it was built in a specific way to oppress women and, I'm not going to say minorities, marginalized people. So I'm not going to misuse the concept of grace and say, well, I'm going to, yes, absolutely. If I'm Christian, you're a Christian, that should be the plane on which we relate. But we know that is not the truth.
Right.
And so I am not going to, because thank you. Okay. Because I have this higher level thinking or concept or paradigm or whatever about this doesn't mean that you meet me there.
Right.
And I'm not going to put myself in harm's way, nor my family
Thank you.
in harm's way as a Black family in this country.
Yeah.
Who happens to be Christian, so that you can abuse me over and over again so that I can prove my worthiness
right.
by extending grace to you in your foolishness.
Ooh.
No, ma'am.
Okay.
I will not.
So how do we break it down? Because I feel what you're saying. So.
Basically, it's like a lot of times the theology is, in my opinion, harmful because, we say, if we are who we say we are, we believe what we say we believe, then forgiveness is key. You extend the grace that you want extended towards you. Mm-hmm. All have sinned and are unworthy, etc., etc., etc. Right? But that does not mean that I have to put myself or my family in harm's way.
Yes,
because the same people who will teach me that theology of grace will teach me that my first ministry is at home. Right. Until my home ministry isn't doing something that you like in your church. And if I say, for example, absolutely, I understand that the church should have security. People out here crazy.
Right.
People are walking in off the street and shooting up churches.
Right.
Absolutely. The church should have security. Mm-hmm. So if you have people in the congregation who are trained is
a good word.
Trained officers or security personnel or FBI or CIA, those people should be your security team.
Yes. Not
every random deacon who goes and applies for a CCW. Because,
as my daddy says, some was sent and others went.
because here's the other thing, and people forget this. Yes, absolutely. People who are in the church, for the most part, by and large, are trying on some level to live what they perceive as quote unquote right. They're trying to live a good life. They are trying to maintain their day-to-day. They're trying to do all of these things.
They need those walls to go to
absolutely
get recharged and fed. Not to get the life sucked out of them.
Right. So, but here's the thing. Because of that, a lot of times it's like people forget, but the church is also a hospital.
Yes.
The church is where broken people go. The church is where hurt people go.
Right.
And every piece of brokenness in here don't need a weapon.
Right. That's right.
Hello.
And as Joseph says, he said this, y'all. At the end of the day, the church is a business.
Well, at the end of the day, everything is.
Yeah. But I think for people to completely eliminate that, as I have done for so many years. And it should be. It absolutely should be in a lot of ways. But I think there is, like everything else, there is a good and bad side to it. And you have to be very watchful.
Well, I mean, the thing is, it's like...
And I don't want to instill fear. Like, if you're at a point right now that you feel like you're being led to be in a church, to be... I am not coming from that space at all. That is...
Well, I'll put this out there.
Okay.
Even though I am, our family is no longer members of the church where we were for a very long time. During the time where we chose to be there, we chose to be there because there was very good teaching. Right. One of the best things they taught us was, this is how you choose a church home. Okay. Number one, is the word of God taught?
Yes.
Not force fed. Is it taught? Are they teaching you how to study the Bible for yourself? Right. Okay. Yeah. So that's one.
Which is a major.
Right. Is it being taught? Number two, is the anointing present? How do you know if the anointing is present? The anointing is defined as, according to Christian theology, the presence of God under which people's lives are changed, burdens are removed, captives, quote unquote, are quote unquote set free, and lives are changed. Do you see that happening? And three, do they have integrity with your money? Do they have a perpetual building fund they've been getting new church pews for 20 years? Or do they raise the money for the new pews and within a year or two you have them? And those are the three things. Like, is the word being taught? Is the anointing present? And do they have integrity with your money? And it really is that simple. I mean, it is that simple. Like, are the people there? Is there joy there? And I would say this is the fourth. Is it a mixed congregation? Are all the people old and their 3-year-old grandchildren?
Right.
Or do you see families?
Right.
And is it multi-generational? Is the youth ministry vibrant?
Okay, I can't. Okay, so listen.
So those are, I'm just saying, for me, that would be a fourth thing. Is there community there?
Right.
And do they challenge you? So it's like,
well, let me tell you this.
Go forward. Go,
as you're saying that, I have to say, so everybody, you all know that I had a dance ministry. I'm the choreographer for my church to do the dance ministry. And I do not consider anybody's shepherd of anything. My calling was and I had very clear directions. You do not consider yourself anybody's shepherd of anything. Is that what you were saying? That's what I said.
No, you said I don't consider anybody's shepherd.
Oh, my bad. Yes, help my words, child.
I just wanted to give clarity.
Thank you. Let me be clear.
She considers herself a choreographer.
Yes.
Who helps to minister the word.
That's right. That's right. Now, some things I have learned along the way in my job of this, and I have to say that I was honestly led to do this work. And my directions from God were very, very clear and specific. And I'm not going to go into that because
nobody's business.
Nobody's business. Mm-mm. And so while I was there, I could tell that at the time the ministry was, there was a lot of brokenness. And people look at a dance ministry and they see them come out, they see them in these different garments, and they're dancing with joy, but they really don't know what it takes to get to that level. And when I had walked in, I of course, being a trained dancer, mixing my God-given talents to the church, there was a lot of things that I had to learn along the way. One is that this is not a dance company. It's not a dance company. I'm not on a stage, and the dance is not the most important thing in the church. It is an umbrella under which the word is spoken and taught. And so I needed to really make sure that I understood that. Everybody coming in here, I'm not auditioning them like, they're going to be at a dance company. However, there were some standards that I thought that we could all grow from. And you can't unteach me excellence, and I'm not going to undo excellence. So no, my ministry is not a ministry where you come in and throw on a t-shirt and some jeans. No offense if yours does, but that wasn't my ministry to come in and do that and then do a lot of hand gestures. I understood as a dancer and a choreographer, and having some understanding of the word and a desire to please God and honor God within that, and around that, there are some tools that are in the dance world that the church, the ministry could really benefit from. A lot of times when you mix those two, it's very hard to marry both of those ideas, which is why a lot of artists don't connect with churches. They run from it because they don't want to have any part of anybody nitpicking over the bigger idea. And
depending on what type of church it is, they often try to get you to stop doing what you do professionally for a living, because that's for the quote unquote world, and you should be serving God only with your gifts. And it's like, but if this is the means through which this is what he gave to me, provision
this
for
is
me,
what I have. This is what I have.
Like, you sound strange,
and it's true. And it's funny because to get a monetary gift for what you do as an artist, there is no shame in that. I believe that is I believe that is what he wants. It is what he wants, because if it or whatever it is that gives you the gas to be able to bless, so that others can be blessed by you, and then you can continue to receive blessing. It's a blessings flow, like a cash flow.
Right.
It's the same thing. So my concerns come from a lot of different areas. I realized that when I got to the ministry that I got to, there was a lot of hurt, some layers of hurt and levels of hurt that I do not, it may not ever truly understand. All I know is that I have to listen to, I had to listen to the people because I am now responsible for leading this ministry. And, you know, I'm gonna just say it. When I first walked in, there were a lot of different bad habits, you know, and I'll be specific because y'all gonna read about it in my book anyway.
Yes, book. Yes.
So number one was a lot of it was that we were coming to prayer. We were coming to meet for prayer. It was a little early for me to do that. Oh, here's a good example. You talked about the household and if the household didn't meet the needs of. Okay, so before I'd gotten there, they had their prayer services right very early for me. Now it's not early for you, but it's early for me, 9:30 in the morning.
But on a Saturday.
Okay. And I had two young kids.
Exactly. Be clear. Saturday is the day mommies get things done.
Right. I have the two kids, and as much as I love Josie, y'all know I love his dirty bath water, but he is no help to me in the morning with the kids. As a matter of fact, he's the guy who doesn't talk all week, and then at 9:05, when I'm shuffling and struggling, he'll ask me, "What do you think happens to mankind when they all die?"
Midnight philosopher.
Like, you would ask me that now? Honey, I just wanted to tell you how much I love you. You want to tell me that now? So a lot of times it was that, or honey, where's it? Y'all know. I know you know what I'm talking about. You don't have to be your husband. It could be your partner. It could be your children. There's always all kinds of stuff that happen when you got young kids or any time to come out of the house. I had already made up in my mind that I could not be any place but before 10 o'clock. It just doesn't work in my household. So when I took on the ministry, they were like, "But we need you here at 9:30. I'm like, "Well, I'm telling you right up front right now, I cannot be there by 9:30. I can be there at 10. We can wait till 10, or we can, that was such an issue. And so, when I still believe though that there should be a word of prayer or so. So when I got there was so much talking. Okay, hear me out before y'all judge. There was so much talking, and I was like, I'm ready to move. My body was shaking. And this is how I realized that I must be a real dancer. I'm like, I thought we were going to demonstrate God's word. I'm in the book. I'm getting prayed up before I get here. And y'all want to talk. But it was the level of conversation to me. I felt like it had shifted from God's word to gossip about or information shared about what was going on in everybody else's personal life. And I was like, I don't think you should be telling the group that. I know that this should be a safe place, but I'm new and there should be some type of order so that everybody feels safe, and that, because it was a lot of people and people were sharing their information. And I'm like, I don't know if this feels right. It just didn't feel right. And I didn't want to question it because these are people who had been here before me. But then that led into things like, okay, well, I'm going to get ready. Well, I need to stop and get something to eat because I just talked so much. I need to get something to eat. So there would be McDonald's bags and, okay, well, I'm going to do this. And you know me, I'm like, I'm going to hit it like a professional dancer. We come in, we rehearse from this time to this time. We warm up. We're going to do a 20, I had everything done. So we are out of here because it is a Saturday and I love y'all, but we can do this without staying here all day.
I have things to do.
This
is social hour for y'all. It is ministry for me, and I'm serious about it.
Yeah, I'm very serious about it, but I also have, to take care of some other things with God outside of these church walls. Yeah. And so, and when I got into ministry, I wanted to stay very true to the timing because I didn't want to be the person to rehearse people for 6 hours and then have to deal with them when they're upset and angry. It just is not a good vibe.
It wasn't. you needed to establish a level of discipline.
That is what my job was to do.
Yeah.
I was called there specifically to put in order and technique.
Period.
And it was very crystal clear to me, because I'm not going to take all of this dance movement that I've learned to say, hey, you know what? I think I'll move back to Cleveland and join the ministry.
Right.
So when I tell y'all I was called to do that, I was following orders.
Right.
You know, that was not in my plan. I'm so glad it is in the plan now, but that is what it was.
Right.
And then when we started, everybody didn't agree with that idea, which was fine. So I lost a lot of people, which was also fine.
Right. Whenever you get new leadership, there's always a loss.
Right.
A turnover. Right.
And so, and at first, for a little bit of a moment, I was a little hurt. And the people who stayed, they were a little hurt by the people who had left. But then after a while, I was like, no, this is actually better. We can start anew. The people who wanted to go and either do something else or had lives to do, I give them a blessing. I'm happy for them. And then I could start fresh for my ministry. And one of the first things that I wanted to do was I wanted to create a space where they could come and be filled. So that they can feel good about at least looking at their bodies and their selves and the body that God gave them with great honor, And if I could get them to do just that little thing, come in, no talking. There's no McDonald's, this and that. If you have to eat, go outside and eat. Like I had to look to yoga and how the yoga studios work, because when you go into a yoga studio, you don't go in there and be talking. I don't care who you are. When you go into a yoga studio, you already know when you cross that threshold, you going in there to sit down. There ain't no talking there. You going to get to work, on your spirit.
Yeah.
So I said, well, if they can do that, then how can I do that? So it had taken me, and I never spoke it. It had taken me a while to set up the space and clear it so that when they came in, boo, I did that the last time, didn't I?
Yep, you sure did.
Oh, snap. Sorry, Karen. But to go in and create that space. So that was one of the things. The other thing is, like I said, I wanted them to come and be filled and not feel like they were forced to do anything. I realized that I was getting, that this was my job.
Yeah.
I realized that they were on volunteer and, they needed to get something out of it, because if I'm going to get from them, they're going to get tired.
Yeah.
And they won't be in a position to give anything of themselves. So, we had to go through that. There was a certain level of other layers of healing that had to go along with, and then they had their personal lives. And ladies and gentlemen, when I tell you that people join ministries are not perfect, they have stuff going on, serious stuff. This is not.
It's the hospital.
It's the hospital, y'all.
And most often
for many, not for all.
No, it's the hospital
for many.
Because
right.
No, it's the hospital for everybody.
Yeah.
Because everybody doesn't go when something's wrong. Some people are smart enough to go for maintenance.
Right. Okay. Right.
So it is the hospital.
Right.
Period.
Right.
It's the hospital.
Right.
There are times when you're at the hospital, you might be the physician, but it is the hospital.
That's right.
And sometimes because, especially in our culture, we have not necessarily been taught how to feed ourselves spiritually.
That's right.
We go to be fed. And I'm not saying that this is necessarily bad, but a lot of times people join lay ministries and individual parts of the work or whatever to distract themselves. They do it because they don't know what else to do. And all distraction ain't bad. No, it might be a good distraction to keep me from doing a whatever thing. Right. But people join those ministries to distract themselves, to fill up their time, to have something to do, because the social part of it and all people need connection. This is not a bad thing. This is the truth.
Right.
Need a level of connection, even if it's very minimal, but they need a level of connection and human contact. And I don't necessarily have to try the same way in the church, because we are enculturated in the church towards kindness and openness and compassion and acceptance of a sort.
Yes.
And so if you join a certain ministry, you suddenly, quote unquote, belong to a thing.
Right.
So you have a built-in kind of little subgroup. And I'm, again, not saying that any of that is bad. I'm just reading it for what it is.
Right.
As a person who has been a leader.
Right. Right. Because you led
I led the drama ministry,
right.
and I told them no. For the first 7 years I was there. It's like, I will not.
Right. I did that the same thing for the first 4 years. And I'd only been in Cleveland for 6.
I said, I will not.
Yeah.
Because first of all, I am not equipped spiritually to lead anything. And if I do it right now, it's going to be the drama club. Right. It's not going to be the drama ministry. It's going to be drama club.
But at least you had the good enough sense to search your soul for that.
Well, see, here's the thing. I didn't have to search. I knew.
Right.
I knew. It's like, I am not in a position to do this. No, thank you. You know, and when I took it over, they weren't ready.
Right.
And I probably lost most of them.
Yeah.
And then the people who needed to be there with me came.
Right.
You know, and they got fussed at all the time. All the time. Because the regular speech was just, I just learned my lines. I was so tired. I was like, oh, yeah? Same thing.
You just learned your lines?
No. I was like, you mean these 10 lines right here? These 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Yes.
Lines. These 10.
Oh, I didn't even read it.
No. Not a monologue, but these 10. You didn't learn? Oh, okay. Let me tell you what I did today. And then they would get the schedule speech that I used to give to the students at CSA. My day starts at 5.
There you go. Come on.
And I would go on from there. I'm not going to do it to y'all. Yeah. But I would go on from there and say, and not only did I have to learn my lines for this, I had to learn the lines for the real show that I'm in.
Right. Where
I have 3-page long monologues. So I don't want to hear that you are tired, because and this is where I used to get them all the time. It's like I am not playing with this. Right. This might be something you're trying to figure out if you like it or not. That's fine. But understand where I'm coming from. Right. And if you're going to hang with me, this is the level you got to get to. Right. This is my passion. This that is,
God gave to you,
right?
Instilled in you.
This like even when I do it professionally for money, this is my sacred space. Right. This is how I worship. I'm not a singer, so this is how I worship. So I take it very seriously. If I'm going to make sure, if I told you right now, I'm gonna pay you $10 for every line you learn, and you got 10 lines, and that means I'm gonna give you $100. I bet you know them by tomorrow. And the thing is, the reason why is because you probably need that money. That feel like easy money. That's something you know what you could do with it right now. You know what bill you could pay, or what thing you just want that you could buy. Right. Because that is something tangible that means something to you. This is, we quote the verses, I offer you the fruit of my lips, the praise of my whatever, and the thing is, that's what this is. Yeah. So it's like, either you in here playing, right, and you don't mean it when you say that you are offering this time as a sacrifice or as an offering. So either you are lying. That's what I would just break it down like that. Right. Like, you're lying to me, to yourself, and to God. Right. Or you are unclear about what it means. Right. So it's up to you to figure out which one that is. I'm not going to say you a liar. Right. I don't have heaven or hell to put you in. That's our favorite thing to say in church, right? Right. I don't have a heaven or hell to put you in. That's right. But what I'm telling you is for me. That's what this is. And if you ain't here with me, don't lie to me.
Nina beats her chest.
Right. Don't lie to me. And it's
Yeah.
like, like if I'm gonna be on a certain level of excellence, like everybody in the church like to say, for the quote unquote world,
right?
How dare I come in here, stand on what I am professing and setting up to be the altar of the Almighty God of the universe.
That's right.
And do it half. Like, do you actually, like, that's where I used to just push them every time. It's like, do you actually believe this?
Right.
Or are you doing it just
Hanging
to have
in a
something
room.
to do?
Right.
Like, don't waste my time.
Right.
I have a husband and 5 children I couldn't be home with right now.
Right.
So do not play with me or my time.
That's right.
And when I tell you I lost members, I lost them.
Yeah,
but I had my faithfuls, and they were like, no, that's real. I get this.
Right.
You know?
And it's funny because the faithfuls, because I'm at the same position, and the faithfuls are.
It's always the people that don't have time for this.
That's right.
It's the people that don't have time for this, that got all kind of everything going on in their life that don't have time for this. You know what I mean? Like, Lord knows I ain't have no extra 10 to 15 hours a week to give to nobody.
Right. That's right.
You know, like, just not at all.
That's
and
right.
actually, if we want to be really like special about it, and true to the word, that's not what's supposed to happen. The married people are supposed to be the one running the ministry.
Right.
It says, like, if we want to go with the patriarchal misogynistic translation, the single people are the ones that's supposed to be doing that.
We're not talking about the single ladies. All the single ladies.
How did we get on this today?
I don't know, but because that was probably the thing that was laying in my heart.
I guess.
Yes, but it's all of what you said. There's so many layers to this. I've learned so much. But one thing I want to say, let me just put it out there.
Oh.
My ministry has been in existence, under my direction anyway, has been in existence for 6 years. I have seen so much beautiful growth because I had to be reminded that everybody is not equipped to come in and just take a look at themselves in the mirror.
Right.
And if they could get past that, then they have another battle. Why they are there, why they're committed to doing it. And does this really make any kind of Christian sense? Why is it dance? Like, why dance and why not anything else? So there's that battle that's going on. And then when they get to the point where they're comfortable with the word and the dance, then they got to work on the technique.
Right.
And that never feels good because our just like acting, I think too, because when you teach, you move a lot and you're very physical. So I know you know what I'm talking about with this, but when you're putting energy that's physical into this type of work, it then becomes a different thing. I don't feel like doing it. My knees hurt. I'm 70 years old, and you want me to do a plie who?
Yep.
A plie what?
Yep.
And a ton who?
I sure do.
And my arms, and all of this kind of stuff. So then there's the technique to get through. And I don't make them do splits and stuff like that, although I have thrown that out there a couple of times. But, if I see that your body can do it, I do push. But if I see that your body can't, I hold back, but you're always needed. So for them to get to the point, to get to the technique, that we understand the word, we make the connection, we're able to look at ourselves in the mirror, with pride, we're able to be a blessing to the others. Then we can finally be able to minister what it is, learn the choreography and minister. Right. That did not happen overnight. No. That took me up until 2 Sundays ago to get it done. And it was funny because 2 Sundays ago, you understand? 6 whole years.
I cannot with you.
I'm telling you, I ain't playing with you because I've had to have that conversation over and over with people.
Oh my God.
They get to the point where they start listening to the press and people are judging them based on what they come out to do in the pulpit. And, they might clap, they might not clap and blah, 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 blah. All of this other kind of stuff. And I'm like, we're not a spectacle.
Right.
We're not coming here and charging tickets for you to come and give us your opinion about what you thought sister such and such should or shouldn't be. What you didn't know is sister such and such is going through taking care of her elderly mother. She is the caretaker of children who don't have their mothers or fathers in their lives. She has dealt with 3 deaths this year, a wayward and runaway child. These are what we're dealing with. These are not people coming in to dance just because they want to be a part of the club. They are dancing for their lives. And one lady said to me, one of my members said to me the other day, she's not a member of our church, but she's been dancing with us for a while. She was like, I have found God so much through dance than I have in anything else. Why is that? And I just could cry, because I watched her come from a certain unique, not unique, a lot of people go through it, background where she was completely broken. Yeah. And she came to us literally crawling on her knees, help me. And I don't know why I want to do this, but I want to dance. Yeah. I want to dance. And I'm like, well, get yourself up off the floor,
And let's get to it.
Yeah. And she was able to hear the word a little bit better because it came from a source of movement, and we were able to meet together on a canvas where she was comfortable and where we were comfortable, not that she was force-fed all of this stuff. Yeah. And it really became her safe space. And now, and it's only been a year and a half. And now she's at a point where she's an inspiration to some of the other members, and she's able to bless. She really is.
And the thing is, a lot of the time when you join a ministry and you think you ministering to somebody else, you almost always ministering to yourself.
Absolutely. I learned so much through them. Yeah. But here's my problem though, Miss Nina. It's finally at a place where finally, I understand. I'm listening. Because you know how long it took to work with your people. I told you 2 Sundays ago. We're finally at a place where the foundation is laid, it's solid. I did the work. God asked me to do. I did it. Yep. I know it doesn't stop there. Yeah. And then you have these outside forces from everywhere.
Well, here you go.
Questioning.
Well, here you go.
Dictating.
Here you go.
Assuming.
But here you go. Here's the thing. And this is where it starts to get into that area I was talking about earlier.
Yes.
It ain't yours.
No, it's not.
It ain't yours. So if you did what you were supposed to do, and you know that, and you feel peaceful about that in your heart, then
Fear Award, are you out there? I know you know what I'm going through. Fear Award, check 1, check 2.
You silly.
I'm calling you out.
But it's like, this is one of those. So this is where all the little church sayings come in. The battle ain't yours, and there's nothing for you to fight.
That's right.
You did what you were supposed to do. And then if it's time for you to let it go. I mean, because honestly, when we made the decision to leave the church where we were members for a very long time, that was the first thing that some of the leadership said to me was, well, we're going to have to appoint someone else to drama ministry. I was like, well, I assume that.
Yeah, right. I would hope so.
Because
I hope it doesn't stop. Because
I was like, well, I assumed that, and I would hope so, and because I wasn't assuming that I was still going to do that if I was no longer a member. Why would I lead a ministry? I'm not crazy,
right.
But I think for them, what a lot of people thought, because of what I said earlier, people do those things because they need distraction. People also do those things because they don't have a sense of personal power in their life. And so being over that thing, that little fiefdom becomes their source of quote unquote power.
Right.
They thought by kind of like dangling that in front of me, that meant, so you're going to lose this thing. Okay.
Yeah, right. And this is where it's good to be an artist.
Well,
this is where it's good to be an artist.
And how about this? Because see, what y'all don't understand is this is what we do every 3 months. Every 3 months.
Yes.
Like we work, we slave, we do this, we lose sleep over, we create, we build this wonderful. And then there's the day when the show closes and there's a period of 10 hours called what? Strike. Right. And you know what we do during strike?
Come on, Miss
We
Nina.
tear it all down.
That's right. Back to the bare.
Oh my God, that's what we doing right now. We're striking. Hey! You know, I mean,
I'm on strike.
Right. But that's the thing.
Strike.
Like we understand the temporary nature of it. We understand that it's not permanent. It's not like a painting or a print or a photograph or a book or a song that gets recorded. That's right. It is impermanent. It is temporary. It's why art is so important as a practice, because then you understand that it's not about the permanence of the thing.
Lord Jesus, I'm gonna be listening to this. I'm gonna be listening to this.
You know what I mean? Yes. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Like I'm actually okay with that. Like,
and that's why I feel like I'm okay to, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not so okay about this.
And here it is, to get real, deep as a puddle of water. Like, death touched me when I was 4, so I'm not afraid to let something die.
Got you. That's right.
Hello. I'm not afraid.
I'm going to put in a shameless plug. Go and see your mama. If you want to know what she's talking about, your mama airs.
If they are listeners, they know. October
Okay.
11th through 27th.
Thank you.
From theater. No, but
hey, and if you, what's the deal? If you go on a Friday.
On Fridays, they have free beer Fridays.
Yes.
Because Americans are weird and never like to sit in the front row.
Yes.
If you sit in the front row any night that you come to the show, you get a free drink.
Yeah, we all talk about Christianity and drinking.
but I'm saying, it's like I'm not like, I understand on a cellular level that there are that things die.
Yeah.
But death isn't
end all be all.
Here we go. If we are who we say we are.
Come on.
Right? That death is not the end. Death is a transition. Right. And I knew that I wasn't, like, I didn't have a goal. I'm sorry. Like, that wasn't, I'm sorry, that wasn't like my main goal in life, to be the head of the drama ministry forever.
That wasn't mine
either. And here's the thing. If that is your goal, I'm not looking down on your goal.
Right.
I'm just saying
you better stick to what God is telling you to do.
I'm saying that's your goal. But what I'm saying is, it's like, and I guess this is, back to what we were talking about in the beginning, that it's either this or that thing that people have going on. It was never, it's only this or that for me. Almost everything in life is on a cycle or a spectrum.
Right.
Almost nothing is linear.
Yeah.
Even the things that are linear is just because we're picking out the points in the spectrum, or we're picking out the points in the cycle to connect to one another. But it's a spiral.
Right.
And you're picking out these points and creating a line. But,
girl, this might be a 2-parter.
Yeah.
5,
But yeah, I mean, so that, I guess that's what I'm saying. It's like, even if, somebody gets quote unquote canceled and we done with them, or whatever, the mob of on the internet is done with them or whatever for something they said. It's like, at least until they do the next thing we like. You know what I mean?
Right.
And for those of you that don't know, here's a helpful tip. A random helpful tip.
Put music in.
Right, the Jeopardy music. There's a thing called Snopes.com. When you have these little clickbait articles that are like, oh my God, you'll die if you leave rice on the counter overnight because it has a bacterium that'll give you food poisoning. You can go to Snopes.com. And if it's a thing that has been circulating the internet, chances are you're not the first one that's seen it, just because this is the first time you've seen it.
Right.
And if it sounds kind of suspect, the people at Snopes, their whole job is to like research these things and find out what's the actual truth.
Right.
So they'll tell you true or false, or it's partially true.
Right.
Here's the part that's true. Here's the part that's false.
Right.
But a lot of times we like, it's bait. We see it, we click it, and we're like, oh, this is the thing. Right. Or we see the headline and share it without even reading it.
Right. Okay.
And that's the level. That's where people have lost critical thinking.
Right.
To think critically, to question, to say like, why do I believe this? Because I see it, and
so when it happens in the church, because that's where it's happening,
right,
all the time. Right. I mean, of course,
everywhere,
everywhere, but particularly this, because this is, it can happen at your job, maybe yes or no, but we're talking about people who are coming in broken, who want answers. They need Snopes.com, and instead they're being baited, in a lot of, and sometimes intended, sometimes not intended, and you when you don't know, and we're talking about God, that's a very dangerous territory.
Absolutely, absolutely,
not one that should be taken lightly at all. So
right,
a lot of people I know, they don't want to even deal with churches based on that, and these are people who, I heard this woman who said that you don't have to be a child of God to do. I mean, you don't have to be in the church to do God's work.
Not at all.
And you don't. And she said too, you don't even have to believe in God. You don't have to believe in God, and you still could be doing His work.
How about this? And how about this? That's biblical.
Yeah, it is.
There was the point where who was it? Peter and I want to say it was Peter and James was like, Lord, they over there casting out demons in your name.
Right.
And Jesus was like, and? Is it working? Okay. Then what you mad for? Because you want to be the only one who could do it?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and I always come back to that question. If we are who we say we are and we believe what we say we believe, why do we think God can't do and use anything to get done what He wants to get done? Right. Like if we actually believe that He is the almighty sovereign creator of the universe, who is omnipresent and omniscient.
That was Mark 9:38, by the way.
Mark 9:38.
Don't play that number, yo.
You stupid. What is wrong with you? I put it in show notes. Kenya tells us to play the number.
That's right. And also we have it in Luke 9:49 as well. Luke. Because he had several disciples. Right. Disclipples.
Not disclipples. Disclipples. But all that to say, like, you have to figure out at some point. You have to decipher. You have to study for yourself. Because here's another good thing. I always learned. I learned at that church. Yes. That I'm no longer a member of. Yes. Because I will give all credit where it's due.
Oh, absolutely.
I learned a lot there.
Absolutely.
And one of the things was, they often said, if you live on principle, you don't have to rely on miracle. Right. And that anything that they're saying, really everything they're saying on the pulpit should be confirming and answering what you were dealing with in your private prayer and meditation. Right. Because if they're doing their job as the pastors or the ministers of the flock, they have prayed for a word that's going to minister to everyone. Right. Right. And if they're not in the quote unquote flesh, whatever they're receiving, something in that is going to hit every problem that's in that church, especially if the people have been doing their work, getting their hearts prepared to receive the word. If you've been praying and meditating and whatever, so you come and you're ready to receive, like, I want to hear what I'm going to be real churchy, thus saith the Lord today, right? Then there wouldn't be so much need for so much counseling, because this is the, I'm not saying this is right for everybody. I'm saying this is, part of what was taught that bore out in my life for the time that I was there. If I was taking my prayer time seriously and I was taking my meditation time seriously, when I went to church, often, more times than not, what they preached answered something I had asked.
That's right. And I've been on this ride with you since I've known you.
Right.
So I know, because you would come and talk to me,
and I'd be like, Kenya, let me tell you what they said.
Oh my God. And I would be like, oh my God, this is the same thing. Right. Oh my goodness. And this divine.
Right. But and the thing is, I still,
so it works. It still works.
And
it's
always
gonna work.
And I still have that happening in my life.
Right.
It's happening in a different way.
Yes.
But it is still happening in my life.
Right. And I think that's what I'm getting. And I admit that that's where I'm getting a little bit confused, because I'm raised in a generation where you think it only happens in that.
There we go.
That's the problem.
And this is why I call myself a progressive Christian.
Right. And I've always kind of felt that that's not so much the case, but when you're taught and fed, and because the church, especially the Black churches, were different, they served as a different entity of its time. And now we're in a time where there's a lot of changes happening. They're so fast. And so, it's confusing me as to, what's being said. Like, why am I feeling over here? I feel like I'm really receiving the word. I'm learning so much. I'm maturing in a way as a Christian so much over here, and it's not happening where I thought it was supposed to happen, or or it doesn't feel like it's happening like that. As a matter of fact, I feel like I'm getting a lot of pushback. So I'm very confused about it. But I know that we're talking about spirit. We're not talking about things that are made of man. And it brought me to, because every morning I read the verse of the day. Sometimes I skip and I have to go back to 0. But but today was really good. Today was Galatians 1:10. And it says, am I now trying to win the approval of human beings or of God? Or am I trying to please people? If I were still trying to please people, I would not be a servant of Christ. I was like, thank you. I'm going with my day. Thank you very much for laying it down for me. But that is it in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Of what's been going on. It's like there's no need to be confused about what you do. My main focus has been to do the job that God told me to do, and to not be, misguided by anything else. But I had to really, continue to listen to what the needs are of the ministry, so that they can be able to continue to bless. And if that also means that there's some things I need to let go, whether it's, ideas or anything, whatever that is. And I'm sure I'll find out rather soon. Some told me it's happening soon, that I need to go ahead and let some of those things go.
Yeah. I mean, and I think one of the hardest things to do as an adult in any arena of your life is to figure out which of these thoughts are actually mine.
Yeah.
Which of these thoughts are mine? Which of these thoughts come from how I was raised?
Right.
Which of these thoughts are a product of, the group think of my generation?
Right.
Which of these thoughts come from the media that I willingly consume? And what is the actual truth of what I think and feel? Right. And that, that's challenging.
Yeah. Right.
And it is, unless you embrace that like self-work as a necessary and joyful element of your life, there is a point where people just stop doing that.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, I'm old and this is how I do it.
Right.
And that's it. Or I'm just set in my ways and this is how my family has always done it. This is how we do it. Or this is the way it's done. But is that what's right for you? And is that actually what you believe to be the truth? And is that actually what you think and feel and believe, and having an original thought is not a sin.
No, it's not.
Or having, and or even having a thought that differs from the majority of the people who are around you is not a sin.
No.
And it's like, I was, just speaking about church culture. I did not know church culture, nor politics, nor did I care at the point we joined that church, because one, I was already strange.
Right.
I've been strange since I came here, number one.
Amen.
Number two, I was strange because I was a Black Catholic from Louisiana. So everything.
You ain't strange to me, said the strange girl.
Right. Because you're my tribe. That's right. No, but I'm saying, you know what I mean? So like nothing about the way that I moved and operated in that space was anything that they were used to.
Right.
Any one of them. And so I was just this little different, strange girl in there being true to who I was, right. and like anything, because I'm an actor, I'm a chameleon,
right,
right. And I'm like a little cat. I'm going to make myself comfortable wherever I am.
I like to call it adjustable.
Sure. But it was like, I was hiding in plain sight in there. And like I did not fit in with anyone, right, with any one of the groups. Like I didn't, because any place where there's big groups of people, people are going to congregate to the people who are most like them. Right. So I didn't fit in with all the people who were trying to be close to pastor. I didn't fit in with the single women because I wasn't single. Right. I didn't fit in with the young mothers necessarily. No. I didn't fit in with the fashionistas. No. I didn't fit in with, it's like I was just out here doing what I do.
Yeah. And I feel you. I often feel like that.
And even when I became kind of sort of like accepted or whatever, I still never fit. Right. I just didn't fit, and it was okay. Right. I was.
You did actually take pride in that.
Yeah. I was fine. Like I wasn't necessarily, because I wasn't shunned. You know what I mean? It wasn't. Right. It wasn't like I was an outcast, but I just didn't quite fit. Yeah. Because I wasn't. I was a Decahodren, and they were circles. Right.
Let me go look that word up. Is that a real word? Did you make that up?
No, that's a real word.
Oh, okay. We'll put that on the...
It's a geometry word.
Oh, I love it.
We haven't...
Yes, I haven't hit that yet with the babies. You probably knew that word then before Jinley, but still.
Well,
whatever.
But and so when I But even with that, that's what I was trying to say. Mm-hmm. Even with that not fitting and being okay with the not fitting, you still become, I guess this is my word of the day, enculturated to a place. And there were things that as I left that were really like, make Nina feel like Nina in her own skin. Yeah. Yeah. That took me a long time to discover, that I realized I had stopped doing unconsciously. Like I had not consciously stopped it. Like I unconsciously stopped doing it while I was a member there over a long period of time. Like it took a while for the not doing to happen. Yeah. Because I was becoming more and more like the people there outwardly, but never, but I, and this is what I truly believe, I stayed close enough to God and the God of my understanding is what they say, like in Alcoholics Anonymous, as a child of a family that has alcoholics, that I could still clearly hear the Spirit of God be like, hey girl, hey, It's time to go.
I love how God in your understanding is, you know, he sound like he's from the Ninth Ward.
Right. Like, hey,
shorty.
Hey, shawty. Time to move. Actually, when I like hear, like if I'm honest, like when I hear, it's like it's like what I imagine is described that Moses heard, you know. Okay. It's like, you know, no, you can't see me, no, you can't go here, you can look at my back, go in the crack, you know, and I'll let you see the back of me, because if you see my full glory, you're gonna die.
Right. You know? Lord knows I don't want to do that.
Okay, wait, and I'm getting it wrong. Who was it? Elijah. Elijah went in the mountain. Was it Elijah? Elijah went in the mountain, and there was an earthquake, and God wasn't in, and it was a thunder, and God wasn't there. But then he heard God in the whisper. Right. That's Elijah. That's Elijah. That's Elijah. So,
you know, I know the spiritual.
Right. Elijah Rock. The Moses Hogan arrangement.
Yes, honey.
So that's the one you listen to.
Oh, let me get a dance going on. Oh, Lord. I don't think you can do that.
Anything with Kenya ever. You can't take her nowhere. No, but
belly dancing and spirituals don't mix.
You trying to get the head of John the Baptist on a plate. What are you doing? Trying
to get the dollars for the tithing.
No.
Scratch.
And now we're done. Because Kenya went off the rails completely. Lord. Man down. No, but when I hear, like, you know, like they say, you know, they have the different words to describe different, what do they call them? Prophetic, psychic gifts, you know, like clairvoyance, you can see, clairaudient, you hear, clairsentient, you can sense or feel, you know. So when I hear, that's what it is. It's like a thundering earthquake.
Okay.
In my, like, that's how it feels, but the sound itself is a whisper.
I understand that. That makes sense. I have to say I feel it,
and it'll be within. Real. It'll be real simple. Like,
right?
No. It ain't no Shakespearean monologue.
There's no repeats. Yeah, you already knew from the first time.
I said what I said.
Yeah. Got 2 American English letters for you.
No. Or yes.
And it's funny because I will feel it more than I can hear it.
Yeah.
And it'll manifest itself in I feel it within me, but I will continue to get signs.
It's what the old black mama say, I know in my knowing.
Oh, yes, I know in my knowing.
I know in my knowing.
And I think women are particularly special because it is an intuition.
Which is why the church can be so damaging, because they tried to silence that.
That intuition, that is the most precious gift that God has given the women. I can't tell you about a man because I ain't no man, so I don't know. All I know is that intuition, when I don't listen to it, it causes great sadness. You know, but I always have, you know, when I feel it and I follow it, even when it looks funny around me, you know, and that's where I am too. I'm at the tail end of, you know, I'm sure there's another phase, but I feel like I'm at the tail end of really understanding that. This past Saturday during our ministry, we were talking. Everybody was just getting their stuff out because I realized that there was no real movement that could happen that day without getting some stuff out that will remain in that room. Yeah. But I'll share my story.
Yes.
I remember having this dream, and you remember this. A long time ago when we was losing our house and we were going into the apartment.
Oh, yeah.
And we were, it was a stormy night. It was a dark and stormy night. I'm trying to think of Edgar Allan Poe, but I can't think of not damn word. But y'all know where I'm coming from. So it was really dark, and the water was out. We're in New York. We're at the Brooklyn Bridge.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Joseph and the kids. Joseph was going up a winding stairway, and he was fussing he was like, "Come on, we got to hurry up and get across this bridge. I ain't got time to deal with you. It's raining, blah blah blah." He was just fussing because that's how lovely he is. And the kids at the time, I think they were like 5 and 7, were running up and down the thing. They were running up the steps to the bridge. Mm-hmm. They were skipping and playing and sticking their hand out of the bridge, you know. And it was raining, and the river was black. It felt like an ocean. The sky was black. It was just, you know, I could hear the wind, but when I think about it, I didn't feel the wind. Mm-hmm. You know, I could hear everything around me was terrible. Mm. And it was so bad that in my dream, I was crawling like belly on, my chin was crawling me up the steps. Mm. And I'm like, no, Joseph, don't go. He's like, what you doing? Come on. What you waiting? Just get up and walk. And the kids are like, look, mommy, I can do this. You know, they're playing on the bridge. I'm like, no, you could get hurt, blah, blah, blah. What I realized though was that bridge was so solid. Mm-hmm. And when I as I was going up to the bridge and getting to the point where I was just about to start crossing over, I realized the bridge was so sturdy and magnanimous, and that there was no rain falling on me or my family. Mm-hmm. And it was then that I was like, okay, I'm still freaked out and everything around me is bad, but the bridge is strong.
It's like old Negro spirit.
Yes.
Bridge over troubled water.
Which I do with the singers. Really is. So when at that point, I woke up and realized immediately what that dream was. Mm-hmm. That bridge was God. Mm-hmm. And everything around me, as ugly and nasty as it was outside, was just an illusion. Mm-hmm. It was an illusion. You know, and a lot of times I feel like, you know, if you're going through things, I'm going to go to the finances because a lot of times that is my biggest thing to go through. But when you get hit with all of this stuff and you just panic because you're like, oh my God, I just want to do this. And I just want to do it. And you realize nobody's going to handcuff you. Mm-hmm. Well, we hope not. Nobody's going to chop your head off. Mm-hmm. You know, you're going to eat, you know, stop focusing on that and understand you're on a bridge that's not going to break. Yeah. It's not going to break. And so I was saying to my members, I was like, you know, you as Black women, we get used to, you know, daggers being thrown at us all the time, you know. And as I said, I was like, oh, here we go, depression kicking in 20 minutes. I know how to deal with that. Get the tea out, get some that, get 20 minutes. Yeah, 20 minutes, honey. But the big question is if you realize that, how do you then live in a life that's comfortable? Okay, we know how you know how to survive. We know we've been doing it for centuries. Right. Okay, but what if you dared to prepare how to live in a comfortable state? Are you okay with that? You know, so, you know, with the bridge being there, and I love pictures of the bridge. That's mine. I want to collect pictures of the bridges, especially the Brooklyn Bridge. But the question is, now that you've reached a certain level in your, a certain level of maturity, in your Christianity or in your faith, are you okay with living a life where you can, you know, be a blessing? And as Zeta said, as she read somewhere, where you can bless from your overflow. Come on. Not from your empty, jacked up, raggedy, you know, fumes. You can bless from your overflow. And that's a hard, you know, it seems easy, but it's really very challenging.
Well, and it's new for a lot of people.
It's new for me,
because you get used to operating a certain way. Yeah. But, you know, if you look to whatever it is that you've been given as your gift or your tool as a guide, you know, because really, like, honestly, seriously, whatever religion it is, whether it's Christianity, whether it's Buddhism, whether it's Islam, whether it's Ifa and Santeria, whatever it is, there's always, because we are human beings, the stories, right? It's the same thing that the mythology was to the Greeks and the Romans. The stories have metaphor to help you interpret signs, whether it's, the alchemist, whatever.
Yes.
It's there to give you something to draw on, to look to say, what's the thing, right? If you look at the practices of the Passover feast, one of the practices of the Passover was to rehearse, break down the word as in to rehear the stories of the people who went before. In other words, for my Africans, the ancestors.
Come on. I had to speak up on that one. Yes, amen.
Right. The way, how did we come through before? How did we live? How did we survive? How do we celebrate?
Oh.
And, Christians love to talk about breaking generational curses. I love to talk about claiming generational blessings.
Okay.
I am living, I have absolutely no doubt, on the prayers of my grandmother.
Yes. Same. And I might want to add, because she's been very heavy on my heart. Not in a bad way. Her anniversary of her joining the ancestral world was October 2nd. So this time is very emotional, all the way up to November-ish. I feel it very strong.
And y'all know how I get when I'm working on the show, so I'm all up in there right now.
Right.
But yeah, I mean
that show again, just in case you forgot.
Goofy. It's in the show notes.
Check the show notes.
Not saying it again. But
if you want to find out more about, check out your mama at CPT.
I cannot.
Running October 11th through the 27th. Okay, go ahead.
I forgot what I was saying.
I'm sorry. You talk about your ancestry, the mom, grandma.
Oh, rehearsing, rehearing, all of those things. Yeah, that's what it's there for. And if you look at this is so funny. Hi, Oprah. Oprah has a series called Masterclass. Which they basically have taken the audio from all those master classes and they turned them into a podcast.
Wow.
And like her intro, she, and it's like people who have quote unquote made it in one field or another. Okay. So, it's like Lynn Whitfield and LeBron and, people who are masters at what they do. And, but in the intro, she says, like, if you can use your life as a class and look at what it's taught you, if I look at my late teens and my early 20s when I was in undergrad, I was obsessive about keeping scrapbooks. Like I had to have a ticket, a program, and photos from every production I was a part of, whether I was an actor, crew, whatever. I had to have it. Like I used to drive people crazy. Like, do you have a ticket? I need a ticket.
Yeah.
I didn't go see the show because I was working the show. I need a ticket. Give me your ticket.
Yeah, right.
And I kept these scrapbooks so that in the times when I wasn't working on a show and the post-show like letdown would sink in, be like, oh my God, what am I going to do now?
Yeah, right.
But I would go and I would look and I'd be like, oh, look, and we did this and this was great. And I made this friend and we did this and we did. And I didn't understand what I was doing at the time. But what I was doing was creating a ritual of rehearsing the good. Because
I wish I had done that.
Well, the thing is, you had a good childhood.
Okay.
So,
but
you know what I'm saying?
I had a turbulent dance, and I think it's not uncommon for a lot of dancers. And then this is where I'm facing a lot of pushback. I think from dancers, especially ones of my generation, because when we get in the studio, by the time we realize that we've encountered so much abuse, along with some of it good, much of it bad, but where you're constantly comparing yourself and constantly trying to reach the level of perfection that even though you've done the most beautiful, most wonderful work, that you you fail as a dancer to realize whose life you changed And we're not in the church anymore. We're just out in the street right now. Whose life you've changed and who you've impacted, and all the great things about dance. You completely overlook that because you're always trying to chase after this perfection. For what reason? You don't even half know. And so when I go and I talk to dancers now, and they're just like, "Oh, I used to be a dancer." They're still fierce. They don't know it. I used to dance, but I retired now. I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And I'm like, but you still have so much more to give. Oh no, it's a done deal. Because the dance world and the European dance world, which was particularly heavy on everybody, to the Europeans as well. Okay. Says to you, your career is up. Bye. You're no good for nothing. See ya. And so a lot of times you go through a long period of loss and of wanting to do this and waiting for the next gig and blah, blah, blah. And I learned early that, it turns in a different way. And I'll tell you this, it was your experience, understanding being your sidekick is your experience of doing the scrapbooking and, and prayer. And all of those things that help me to understand and see the value in what it is that I do, and what I see in other people, so, and that's why I wish that I had done that. Now what I do is I have my daughter. If she doesn't do it, I do it for her. But I make a big deal out of things like, your first ballet class or your first jazz class or you auditioned. Just recently, I had 2 other people that I put on point, in the ballet world. Yes, thank you.
That's like getting your black belt.
Thank you. Y'all know in the ballet world, though, for a ballet mistress, that's just no big deal because this is what they do all the time.
Right.
This is not something that I get a chance to do all the time. And I don't give that privilege so easily, and I realize what it means to a young girl to get
a young brown girl.
Yes, but that's even a bigger deal. I don't know how we got, out of church and into this, but
because we're still in church.
Okay, we still in church. But it's a big deal. Yeah, right. It is, because this is through this I've watched them grow and develop a confidence and a shine within themselves that is so great at such a young age that I don't know if this might be something that might save their lives when they're having a down day or something where they might be able to bless somebody else if they're having a down day or, I don't know. And so what I'm going to do is go with them to get those point shoes, celebrate that they get in those point shoes, understand how hard they work to get them the point shoes, and honor myself as a teacher to be able to get that far. Yeah, I don't care if it's two people. It's just 2 people. I don't care. And like I said, 10 years ago, I would have been like, well, it's only 2 people and I don't work at this place and I never reached this level and blah, blah, blah. And this is what I encounter with other dancers all the time.
Right.
I'm like, no, do you know who you are? Right. You used to say this to me all the time. You'd be like, girl, do you understand? I'm like, really? People care,
Yes.
And I would always say, but I'm not, and I didn't, and I still do it. I'm still working on it.
Y'all remember the Diane McIntyre rant?
That was just a few months ago.
Dr. Diane MacArthur, genius fellow McIntyre,
go back to it,
calls you and says the work was good. What do you say?
Thank you.
Okay. She hasn't forgotten.
I haven't forgotten. I've been working and learning ever since. I really have. But my hope is that because I got a chance to go to New York and connect with a lot of dancers, of my generation who understand my same thing, and I can now see, because they're in that life. It's a hustle that you almost can't get out of because you see other people around you doing what you do.
Right.
And then when you're taken out of that element and brought to a place like here, where they don't do it quite as often, you don't know what to do. Then you're like, oh, what I do is completely invalid. So let me just not do nothing. Let me just try and be something else or be someone else, I don't know. I don't know.
Well, and I think that's where faith is important.
Yeah.
and why it's one of the things that we talk about. Like we may not talk about it as specifically on every episode, but for us as artists who are also people of faith, and I'm including the broader, interfaith community, and that not just people who are Christian, but people who practice spirituality and believe in something higher than themselves. When you're an artist, I think if you're an artist of any type, you have to be a person of faith.
You absolutely do.
You have to, because
you practice it all the time.
Because what?
Because why? Because what? Because where?
Because what we do does not make logical sense.
So that explains why I'm so offended when someone who doesn't know exactly what's going on steps up to me and says, you should do it like this because I think it would be better. Ekumi, Sariko Mucho. Do I come to you and say, oh, I'm not talking about, my pastor or anything like that. Not at all. But do I come to you and say, I know you have mastered the word and theology. Let me teach you about the 10 Commandments, because you should do it like this from a dancer's point of view. Do you hear me saying that? No, because I don't know what I'm talking about. So don't come to me with your suggestions. Well-meaning, of course, but you're doing more harm.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop right there. Thank you, Lord. Amen.
You could have seen her biting her tongue, making her face.
Because I know that there's a lesson in this for me. And, 12 years from now, even though this won't be an issue 12 years from now, even 12 months from now.
It might be because people are always going to be people.
I think it's just a human. It's a human. Thing.
I just say, "Oh, thank you," and walk away because I don't have time.
Yeah, right. My focus, because now I have a new set of direction.
Well, girl, and
so
it's
my focus has to be.
Do you know the first time I did your mama? This woman came up to me after, and she was like, "Oh my God, I love your show so much." Blah 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 blah. But I just want to let you know, they don't give X-rays, and I was like, "Ma'am." This, and I just bust out laughing, and she was like, what? And I was like, you do realize that this was autobiographical.
Oh, she was talking about the actual, there's a point in the show.
Yeah, there's a point in the show where I had to get an X-ray.
Yes.
And it was when Jahi was being born.
Right.
My second child, who's my oldest son.
Right.
Because they thought he was twins and they could not tell what was going on and all kind of stuff. And I had gone into labor, I was having a regular contraction and everything, and they would find what they thought was baby A, find his vital. I was like, great, let's look for baby B. And they would find what they thought was baby B, and then they would lose baby A, but then they'd go back and they'd find baby A, and they'd be like, what are they doing in there? I had 8 different technicians give me an ultrasound. They also thought they saw 2. And so then finally we had to do an X-ray because they just could not tell what was happening.
Right.
And, that's when they saw, the cord is around his neck, it's around his belly, it's around his leg. Like he was following the sound of the ultrasound. So when they would move, he would move. And they'd be
fast.
And they would be like, you don't feel all that flipping. I'm like, he's never still. It felt like twins. So when you're about 5-6 months pregnant and they give you the little paper and they're at the baby's most active time of day, just tick how many movements you feel and you should feel 10, and I'd be like 41, 42, 43, so they were like, yeah, it's 2 babies in there.
Okay.
Yeah, right. Like everything pointed.
They didn't know it was just a really fast
to 2 babies. Right. Well, and twins run both in my family. Right.